हेलो दोस्तों, स्वागत है आप सबका एक नए ब्लॉग में एक नए जगह पे जो कि बहुत ही खूबसूरत है। एक हिस्टोरिकल एंड ब्यूटीफुल प्लेस में जो कि है बदागरी, नाइजीरिया में। तो आपको लेकर के आई हूँ मैं इस बदागरी में, जिसका अपने आप में बहुत कहानियाँ हैं, हिस्ट्री हैं। और ये हिस्ट्री आपके दिल को भारी भी कर सकता है, क्योंकि आज से 18th सेंचुरी, अर्लियर 18th सेंचुरी और एंड ऑफ 18th सेंचुरी में बहुत ऐसी चीज़ें हुई जो कह सकते हैं आपको इमोशनल कर सकता है, आपके दिल को छू सकता है। और कुछ ऐसी भी जगह है जो आपको रिलैक्स कर सकता है, सुकून दे सकता है। तो ये सारी पॉइंट मैं आपको लेकर के चल रही हूँ। रेडी हो आप? तो चलो हमारे साथ आज एक्सप्लोर करते हैं बदागरी, जो कि स्लेव मार्केट, स्लेव ट्रेड के लिए फेमस है। लेट्स गो। सो ये इनका यहाँ का फर्स्ट चर्च है, बट दे डोंट बिलीव कि ये चर्च है, तो यहाँ पे प्रेयर नहीं करते हैं। बट दे बिलीव कि जो अभी मिराकल वेल था, कुआं था, उससे पानी ला के यहाँ पे रखते हैं एंड इनकी विश पूरी होती है। तो दोस्तों, ये है नाइजीरिया का पहली स्टोरी बिल्डिंग। सही सुना, ये एक नाइजीरिया के हिस्ट्री का इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट है। यहाँ पे आपको काफ़ी कुछ कॉलोनियल आर्किटेक्चर देखने को मिलेगा, तो आपको लेकर के चलते हैं। ये फर्स्ट जो स्टोरी बिल्डिंग है बदागरी का, उसमें कि क्या क्या चीज़ें अंदर हैं, हमने गाइड भी कर लिया है, तो वो एक्सप्लेन करेगी यहाँ की हिस्ट्री के बारे में। क्योंकि मैं जो कुछ भी बताऊँगी वो गूगल से या थोड़ा बहुत सर्च करके, लेकिन जो यहाँ के लोकल हैं वो एग्जैक्ट हिस्ट्री बता पाएंगे कि क्या है बदागरी का हिस्ट्री, क्योंकि वो लोग गाइड हैं, लोगों को बताते आ रहे हैं। उन्होंने अपने पेरेंट्स से, उनके पेरेंट्स से सुनी होगी ये सारी चीज़ें। तो लेट्स गो। ये जगह एक रिमाइंडर है कि कैसे कॉलोनियल एरा ने बदागरी को शेप किया। इट्स लाइक स्टेपिंग बैक इन टाइम। अब देख सकते हो सारी चीज़ें यहाँ पे, लेकिन अभी बिल्डिंग टूट रही हैं कई जगहों से, लेकिन ये अपनी कहानी ज़रूर कह रही हैं। द हिस्टोरिकल एजिया ट्री, ये अभी जाएंगे देखने। इसमें ऑलरेडी लिखा भी है, अंडर दिस ट्री क्रिश्चियनिटी वॉज फर्स्ट क्लेम्ड इन नाइजीरिया इन सितंबर 1842। मैंने पहले ही कहा कि सारी चीज़ें अर्ली 18th सेंचुरी की है। एंड द फर्स्ट क्रिसमस वॉज फर्स्ट सेलिब्रेटेड इन दिसंबर 1842। ओह ग्रेट।
Mr. Claudius Phillips. This man taught 40 men on 2 subjects for 12 years, English and CRK. When the school was still in this compound, the school was named the Nursery of the Infant Church, before the school now moved to its permanent site in 1845 as a missionary. Ajayi Crowther was part of the missionary that came to Badagry, and he was the only black among them. So he translated the English Bible to Yoruba in this building. So let's go to his room.
Speaking in which language, like Nigerian language or which language?
English.
English. ये हमारी गाइड है आज के लिए, जो सारी चीज़ें एक्सप्लेन कर रही हैं यहाँ के बारे में, फर्स्ट स्टोरी बिल्डिंग के बारे में।
So this is the room of the first black bishop in Africa, Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther. He was in charge of the translation. So he translates English Bible into Yoruba. In 1845, he completed the translation in this room. And here is the first Yoruba Bible in the world. It's 178 years. And this is the first English Bible in Nigeria. It's 182 years. And he played the role of interpreter when the missionary were in Badagry. This is Ajayi Crowther and Thomas Bembeti Macaulay. Thomas Bembeti Macaulay get married to Ajayi Crowther's daughter, Abigail Crowther, and they gave birth to this man we know as Abat Macaulay. This is Reverend Thomas Beth Freeman. Reverend Thomas Beth Freeman was the one that brought Christianity to Nigeria in 1842, September 24th. He's from the Methodist Church of England. This is Reverend Erin Townsend. He's one that brought the idea of Christmas under the Agia tree in December 25th, 1842. He's from the CMS Church, which is the Anglican Communion now. And this is Reverend Charles Andrew Goldman. He's in charge of the construction of this building. And he was part of the people that signed the treaty to abolition of slave trade in Badagry in 1852. Room of the builder, Reverend Charles Andrew Goldman. And we are standing on a wall of 182 years in this room. So this is the portrait of the first story building as at 1845. The portrait of the church that used to be in this compound that makes this building the first mission house in Nigeria. And this is the last surviving furniture of this building. This chair is 146 years. And this is the early missionary cemetery where they bury some missionary that died there in Badagry. This is a safe, and this is the first currency in Nigeria and in Africa at large, cowrie. Before they now spend this one, Manila. This leads to trade by barter in Nigeria. And before they now spend coin currencies. So we now have the 50 kobo. $50, 1 naira, 5 naira, 10 naira, 20 naira. So this is the first CMS well. It was dug in 1842 by the missionary. That means this well has been here for the past 181 years. And this well has never run dry. It has never changed color or taste, and it serves as drinking water to everybody in this entire community. And over time, the tourists named the water the Miracle Well because of the miracle behind this water. Because this water has served as miracle water to everybody in this entire community. Thank you for coming to
अभी हम आ चुके हैं रॉयल फैमिली के ओरिजिनल स्लेव म्यूजियम है, वहाँ पे आपको दिखाती हूँ। तो यहाँ की हिस्ट्री काफ़ी पेनफुल है। आप देख सकते हो स्लेवरीज का ये बना हुआ है, किस तरह से इनको हैंडकफ जंजीरों में रखा जाता था। ये सारी चीज़ें हम यहाँ देखेंगे। ये जो चेन है इसमें ही सबको रखा जाता था। कितना पेनफुल है, सोच करके रूह ना कांप जाती है कि इसमें अगर बांध करके रखा जाए तो कैसा क्या फील होता होगा। आई मीन इस चीज़ को हम लोग सोच भी नहीं सकते।
My name is Sangeeta Mobi, and this is the Mobi Family Slave Relics Museum. Here are the real chain, shackles, used on our forefathers during the period of slave trade. The chain here are over 500 years old. Now, why will I say such? Badagry was known to be a slave corridor during the period of slave trade. And Badagry happened to be one of the two major slave coasts we have in Nigeria for transatlantic slave trade. We have Badagry and Calabar for transatlantic slave trade. And so slaves captured from the Oyo Empire were brought down to Badagry, while slaves from the eastern part of Nigeria were taken to Calabar. Our forefathers back then were middlemen between the white and the black. They buy slaves from their fellow black, they sell to the white men. This business lasted for about 350 to 400 years. The business was abolished by the help of the man buried here, Chief Sumbu Mobi. The father of the man buried here was a middleman between the white and the black. These are the real chain around their neck. This I'm holding is for the neck of the slaves. The slaves were meant to walk with these around their neck for 18 hours every day. While traveling, sir, please carry it. While traveling, this will remain around their neck for another 3 to 4 months before they get to their final destination. Sir, do you mind if I put this around your neck? So they'll have to walk with these around their neck for 18 hours every day. While traveling, this will remain around their neck for 3 to 4 months before they get to their final destination. This is called the mouth clip, and this is for the mouth of the slaves. Slaves are usually not allowed to communicate to one another while working on the farm. Because the white men are afraid, they believe that while slaves are working and they are communicating, they could plan on how to attack them. They usually pierce their lips with hot iron. In the morning, while going to the farm, they put this on their mouth. and they padlock their mouth like this for them not to talk or eat while working on the farm. Why this is used on the babies? For the children of the slave not to be playing about the farm so as not to step on wherever their parent has planted. They gather the babies together. They chain their wrists with this size of the chain. Make them sit down under a tree far away from where their parents are working. Why this is a torture weapon for stubborn slave who refuse to work inside the farm. Any slave who disobeys his master, they force this into their hand down to the wrist. This most time doesn't go in easily, so they have to break the bone to force this to the wrist. After forcing this to the wrist of the slave, they made them climb a platform and they screwed this up to a tall tree. The slaves will now be hung on the tree, dangling from morning to night. In the course of doing that, most of them died. The white man doesn't care. They called this the branding hire back then because this is what they use in writing name on slaves. Slaves don't bear name during the period of slave trade. They bear the name of their masters. For the master of the slave to be able to identify their slaves, they have to put this in fire. And when this is red hot, they use this to write the name of the owner of the slaves on the body of the slaves. This is what we now adopt as fashion today. Tattoo is what we call it. The second function of this is to pierce the mouth. The last function, the foot of stubborn slave who try to run away, being captured. Why this is called the ankle lock for the leg of two slaves. Two slaves are meant to walk with this around their ankle at the same time. They padlock this around their leg and they have to walk with this around their leg at the same time. For 10, an umbrella for 40. This cannon gun here was exchanged for 40, the big size of this for 100 human being. Over there is the slave drinking water bowl. 40 to 50 slaves drink water from that bowl at a time.
आप सोच सकते हो कि इन लोगों की ज़िंदगी कैसी होगी उस भयावह ज़िंदगी के बारे में और टाइम के बारे में, एरा के बारे में सोच करके भी आज रूह कांप जा रही है। मुझे तो बहुत ये लग रहा है कि कैसे करते होंगे का ये सारे उनके पैर बंधे हुए, हाथ बंधे हुए, मुंह में हमें अगर 10 मिनट के लिए चुप रहने के लिए बोल दिया जाए तो नहीं रह सकते। लगता है वो पनिशमेंट है, इनको पूरे 18 घंटे बंद करके, मुंह बंद करके और काम करना होता है। और ये गले में यहाँ से बंधा हुआ, मैं 2 मिनट नहीं होल्ड कर सकी, उनको 18 घंटे लगाना पड़ता था। और ये वॉल जिसमें सभी लोग पानी पीते थे और ये रहते थे। अब सोचो कि एक साथ सारे स्लेव अगर पिए तो वो मंजर कैसा होगा, मतलब मैं वर्ड में एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकती हूँ। जो स्लेवरीज का चल रहा था एरा, वो क्या खौफनाक मंजर होता होगा, सारे स्लेव्स और उनके काम करते हुए। आज के डेट में तो वो चीज़ देखना भी मतलब कहते हैं ना, अपने आप में कपा देने वाले, दिल भारी कर देता है, इमोशनल कर जा रहा है जब भी आप हिस्ट्री को जाने, इस अफ्रीका के हिस्ट्री का। एक दारू की बॉटल, आई मीन अल्कोहल, दिस वाज अल्कोहल नो, एंड दे गेट 10 स्लेव्स। एक दारू की बोतल में 10 स्लेव्स उनको मिल रहे थे।
Sorry, can you take that iron again?
हाँ, this one?
No, start your leg. The other one, the first one. Yeah.
This one?
That bigger one.
Okay. Oh, it's so heavy. Oh. Oh. So heavy.
Oh, yeah, put it down.
Ah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. सो हेवी। यहीं से सबकी ट्रेडिंग होती थी, ऑक्शंस होते थे सारे स्लेव्स का। ये दूसरे से सभी के सभी चेन में बंधे हुए हैं, आप देख सकते हो। पैर भी बंधा हुआ है, इनके हाथ भी बंधे हुए हैं, और अभी जो चेन दिखाई वो भी है। सिरामिक बोल, गन एंड मिरर। Riches.
Now, the compound was established in the year 1840 by a man called Chief Seriki Williams Abbas. That's the picture of the man at your back there, in the cenotaph there. That is going to be one of his slaves. So when he returned and he came back to Nigeria here, this is where the master, built for him to keep his slaves. And in this compound today, we are having 40 slave cells. What am I touching now? Umbrella. An umbrella was used in exchange of 40 slaves. 40 women being for an umbrella, bottle of whiskey for 10 slaves, cannon gun, the big size for 100, the small size for 40, ceramic bowl for 10 slaves, then gun for 40 slaves, mirror and the bead. They also use those ones to exchange slaves, but those ones do have specific number. It depends on how you bargain. Then we also have kettle and brasses. These are the items given to the chief. We have various doors in this compound today. So each room you are seeing 40 slaves are kept in each of the rooms, and we have 40 rooms. So that will give us 1,600 slaves. But today, the government came here, they met the family of the Chiseka Abbas under the, administration of Obasanjo in the year 2003. So they, preserved the 2 slaves here for tourists to see as a monument. So, and they preserve it all. I'm coming, man. We are going to go in. So all what we are having today, they preserve it, the belongings of the Chiseka. But now, let me bring the umbrella out for you that was used in exchange of 40 human beings. Can you see now? 40 slaves have gone, but we have the umbrella here today. And the umbrella you are seeing with me today is close to 200 years old. Do you want it? If you want it, you have to give me somebody. Who is that person? Is your daddy around? The slaves there. But before we go inside, we have 2 rooms. We have, 2 rooms in a cell. The first room here, we call it inspection room. But the inside is the cell where 40 people are kept. But remember, not all the 40 slaves that are kept there survive. Some of them will suffocate and they died in that room. We have just more ventilation in that room. Whenever they want to poo-poo or they want to wee-wee, they do it in that room. Let's come inside. You can imagine where we are standing, like I said, we call it inspection room. They inspect the slave right here. But look at what they were using on their leg of the slaves. We call this one ankle shackle. They use this on 2 slaves' legs. One slave, their one leg will be there, another slave, another leg will be there. And both of them will be working together with these shackles. They are trying to protect, they don't want the slave to run away. That's why they are fixing this on their leg. Then, thank you. Also, we have another one here. We call this one wrist chain. They put it on the hand of the slaves. Then this one to another person's hand. Just like handcuff now. Then we have another one. We have the one for the babies as well. You can see. They don't.
What do they inspect before they take them?
They were inspecting those slaves before buying them.
Okay. Whether they are healthy.
Thank you, sir. If they are healthy, they will buy them. If they are not healthy, they return them back. Okay. So that's why I say they call this place inspection room. But that's the main cell where they will lock them. Look at the one for the babies. They change the baby, they capture the baby along with their parents. But they don't want the children to disturb their parents while their parents busy working in the farm. But they use the baby as bonus. After the white people will come and buy them, they use those baby as bonus.
That's all.
For the 80, as at that time, these glasses were not there. And the size of this room is 9 feet by 9 feet. That's the only ventilation that they have in this room. You can see it up there. So look at what they gave to them. We call this one ceramic bowl. Each bowl is for 10 slaves. So we have 5 bowls right there. And that 5 bowls now representing 50 slaves. They will now give them the children as bonus. Jara. The beer mug, the bottle of shinap, the gramophone record, those are the things they gave to the chief. You can see how they lock their mouth, the torture given to them, how slaves were crying in the cell, the punishment given to them, how they marched them to the point of no return, how they also use dog to chase any slave who tried to escape. The work of the dog is to run after them and cut off the throat of the slaves. Since in the year 1847, that's the dog you are seeing. Yeah, 1847, and that's the shackles they used on the slaves. So in that room, that is where they locked the 40 slaves. No fan, no light. I told you some of the women were pregnant, some of the women with their kids. Even some of the women gave birth in that room as well. That was sold into slavery, then later returned. That's his clothes there. That's his clothes.
Which country?
India.
India. Wow. Namaste. Say namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Wow.
Namaste.
Hey, hello. Namaste.
Namaste. थैंक यू। तो दोस्तों ये है बदागरी हेरिटेज म्यूज़ियम, जहां अफ्रीका की एक पेनफुल और पावरफुल स्टोरी छुपी हुई है। तो आपको लेकर चलती हूं मैं अंदर। यहाँ आपको स्लेवरी से जुड़ी हुई बहुत सारी डिटेल्स मिलेंगी। देखो कुछ इवेंट्स भी चल रहा है। रिसेप्शन से अंदर जा रहे हैं। दिस इज़ बदागरी म्यूज़ियम। जैसे कि मैंने कहा यहाँ आपको स्लेवरी से जुड़ी हुई बहुत सारी डिटेल्स मिलेंगी, कैसे यहाँ से लोगों को ले जाया गया था और उनकी लाइफ किस तरह बदल गई। ये सारी चीज़ें का आपको कहते हैं ना इम्प्रेशंस आपको दिखने को मिल जाएगा। कितना पेनफुल हिस्ट्री है ये स्लेवरी से रिलेटेड।
when the slaves decide to take destiny into their hands. So am I not a man and a brother? Is the question the slave is asking the master. So and the slave is asking because someone like him reduced him to the level he is. So the hands and the legs of the slave was chained, and the slave is begging for freedom. So this was first held in the year 1807. So we have the Europeans in West Africa. How the Europeans divide Africa into 4 major coasts. Each coast was named after what they discovered. So the first coast is called the Grain Coast, and the Grain Coast is Sierra Leone and Senegal. The second coast is called the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is Cote d'Ivoire. The third coast is called the Gold Coast. Gold Coast is Ghana. And the last coast is called the Slave Coast. So and the Slave Coast is Nigeria and Benin Republic. So they call them the Slave Coast because they get more slaves from Nigeria and Benin Republic than any other country. So how they match the slaves to the point of no return. So they match the slave on a straight line down to the unknown destination. And once they get to the point of no return, the slaves are not allowed to come back. These weapons are used to raid to get more slaves. So the weapons include the iron sword and the Dane guns. And these are the chains. So these are the original chains used on the slaves. So we have the neck chains for the male, the neck chains for the females, the neck chain for the babies, and this for the legs of the slave, of a tortured slave. How they torture the slaves at the Badagry point of no return. So they torture the slaves at the Badagry point of no return, like this. So this is the tortured slave at the point of no return.
इन सारे पिक्चर्स को देखकर और यहाँ की स्टोरी सुनने के बाद आज भी गूज़बम्स आते हैं, रूह कांप जा रही है। बेसिकली इन स्लेव्स अफ्रीकन को पकड़कर डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ वेस्ट अफ्रीका से पकड़कर लाते थे और बदागरी में रखा जाता था। इन सबको एक बैराकून्स जो स्लेव सेल्स है 9x9 के रूम्स होते थे उसमें रखा जाता था बिफोर लाइक बीइंग शिप्ड अक्रॉस द अटलांटिक। बहुत लोग जो पॉइंट ऑफ नो रिटर्न्स है वहां से उनको भेजा जाता था अदर कंट्रीज में।
The navigator is the man who explored the West African coast, and this man is called Captain John Hawkins. Hawkins is the first English slave dealer, and here we have Felix de Souza, who was a major slave dealer during the transatlantic slave trade for 30 years. So these are the slave dealers, and they also advertise the slave. So they place the slave on different adverts. So to be sold and let by public auction, then to be sold a cargo of 94 prime healthy Negroes. So where the slave drink water. And this
द मॉर्वी स्लेव रेलिक म्यूजियम, जिसमें आज भी आर्टिफैक्ट्स प्रिजर्व किए गए हैं ट्रेड एरा के, इंक्लूडिंग चेन्स एंड डॉक्यूमेंट्स एंड द ब्राजीलियन बैराकून्स फॉर्मर होल्डिंग सेल्स फॉर इंस्लेव्ड पीपल बिफोर डिपोर्टेशन। तो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं जो आज भी बदागरी के हेरिटेज और हिस्ट्री को बयां करती है।
So there are different punishments given to the slaves on the plantation. So like the hanging of the slave. So we have the hanging of the slaves, the lashing of the slaves, so they beat some of the slaves in public with an iron nakedly until they died. So and these are the slave revolting. Don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. I can only touch you, you cannot touch. So these are different punishments. These are the slave revolting. So killing their masters, fighting for their freedom. So these are the slaves saying enough is enough, they don't want slavery anymore. Then we have the domestic slaves.
बारबेक्यू करके मिलता है। आई जस्ट वांट टू ट्राई दिस अदोला आई जस्ट वांट टू ट्राई दिस। आई गॉट कोकोनट बारबेक्यू एंड they've given
Badagry at that time reported Richard Landon that he came to Badagry to come and spy because British abolished their own slavery in 1807 before 1825 that he came to Badagry. They're not using this for an example. The left one may be any number, they'll be here till under 5 days. They eat once in a day. They eat what they see. Thanks for coming to Badagry Slave Market International. Oh, okay. No, they're cool. Are you saying like
Oh,
this?
yes. No, it's...
No, I'm not blocking. I'm not blocking.
See, Adela is dancing. Wow. पर ये हमारी फेरी है यहाँ के लिए, आप देख सकते हो कैसा फेरी है। ओह, कोस्टल लाइन एरिया तक जाने के लिए 4 किलोमीटर का वॉक करना पड़ता है, जो कि इस फेरी से आइलैंड पे पहुंचेंगे। फिर हम बाइक से वो 4 किलोमीटर का सफ़र तय करेंगे। यहाँ से हम लोग को बाइक से जाना है आगे, नो पॉइंट रिटर्न्स जाने के लिए। तो एक और एडवेंचर यहाँ पे आके देखो, वो बाइक पे बैठे हैं। ओह, ये कोई उबर और ऐसा कैब का नहीं है, बट फेरी से आकर यहाँ से इस आइलैंड पे बाइक से ही जाना है। Three of us, we are going. He is driving like a crazy. दोस्तों ये है नो पॉइंट ऑफ रिटर्न। अब देख सकते हो इस समुद्र से ही शिप पे सारे स्लेव्स को ले जाया जाता था। सॉरी, मैं इतनी हिस्ट्री में खो गई हूँ कि ऐसा लग रहा है मैं भूल ही गई हूँ कि क्या बोलना है। और अब हम पहुंच गए हैं एक ऐसी जगह जो दुनिया के सबसे इमोशनल प्लेस में से एक मानी जाती है, द पॉइंट ऑफ नो रिटर्न्स। जिन्होंने ये रास्ता एक बार पार कर लिया वो कभी वापस अपनी मिट्टी को छू नहीं पाए। ये वो लास्ट स्टेप था जो एक इंसान अपनी जन्मभूमि पे रखता था, उसके बाद सिर्फ एक बेचैन सफ़र। ये वॉल था कुआं जिसका पानी पिलाते थे प्रेस्ड स्लेव्स को, जिससे वो अपना मेमोरी उनका लॉस्ट हो जाता था, वो सब कुछ भूल जाते थे। ओह, देयर इज स्टिल वाटर।
Yes, there is still water inside.
तो दोस्तों, आज का ब्लॉग सिर्फ एक जगह का टूर नहीं, एक सोचने की बात है। हमारी आज की दुनिया शायद बदल गई हो, लेकिन इंसानियत की असल पहचान है प्यार, सम्मान और आज़ादी से। चलती हूँ, अगले ब्लॉग में मिलेंगे एक नए सफ़र के साथ। ये पूरे इन स्लेवरी की स्टोरी एक गाने के थ्रू कितनी अच्छे से एक अफ्रीकन ही बता रहे हैं, वो आप सुनो।
Gracious God, see what the white men did. When they first came here, they gave us looking glasses. They gave our papa many fine, fine things, and they gave our mama many beautiful things. When they got to the shore, they brought out gun, and they said, "You get on board, you think I'm joking. Get on board, you think I'm playing. Get on board." And they started to shout, "Get on board." And they started to laugh, "Get on board." And so they roll along into slavery, roll along. When they die, they threw them overboard. When they sick, they took them overseas. When they roll along into slavery, roll along. When they roll along to Mississippi, Mississippi, Mississippi. Mississippi, Mississippi, fourth longest river in the world. That is song. Thank you.